In today's video, we're looking at the top band descriptor for AQA English Language Paper 2 Question 5, focusing on what is meant by sustained crafting of linguistic devices. In simple terms, this means you're deliberately using language techniques like metaphors, similes, emotive language throughout your whole response, and you're not just throwing them in randomly or using them once and forgetting about them. No, the sustained part means you keep it up from start to finish, and the crafting part means you're doing it carefully and effectively, not just mechanically. And one of the ways you might want to do that is through the use of an extended metaphor. So a metaphor is when you say something is something that it's not, and you're making a comparison even though it's not literally true. And an extended metaphor is when you take that metaphor and reference it a number of times throughout an entire piece of writing, rather than just using it once. Let me give you an example taken from my Guide to English Language, which is linked in the description. Imagine you're faced with this question. Young people are lazy, unambitious, and quick to give up. They lack the skills needed to succeed in the modern workplace. Write an article for a news website in which you argue your point of view on this statement. And let's imagine that you come up with a concept for your answer. You're going to look at how young people are not prepared for the modern workplace, but how, ironically, it's the modern workplace itself that's made them this way. It's social media companies that have meant young people no longer communicate face to face. It's Googling every problem we face that means young people can no longer problem solve. That kind of thing. Now, that's a good idea, and you could write a nice answer about that. But then comes the idea of the extended metaphor. Step one is to ask yourself, is there a metaphor that really sums up this topic I'm writing about, the modern workplace? So I'm going to think, what is the modern workplace like? Well, it's constantly changing, it's overwhelming, it's hard to navigate and get through. And then I'm going to think, is there something I can use as a metaphor which is similar? I might come up with the idea that I'm going to describe the workplace as a stormy sea. So I might have an opening sentence like, the modern workplace is a stormy sea, constantly shifting due to the introduction of new technologies. And that's fine, but it's not an extended metaphor yet. The way to make it an extended metaphor is to have 2 or 3 more references to it throughout my writing. The modern workplace is a stormy sea, constantly shifting due to the introduction of new technologies. Whilst these innovations can be helpful, they also mean that younger generations may not have the necessary skills to work in modern jobs. The job market of today is an ocean of opportunities, with groundbreaking work opening up in artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and virtual reality. In this rapidly changing job market, we don't yet know what tomorrow's workplace will look like. As a result, young people need to learn transferable skills that can be applied to a variety of workplaces. Problem solving, teamwork, and flexibility will be essential in navigating these choppy waters. However, the same technology companies that are likely to employ young people are also contributing to the problem. Something is terribly wrong. In the not too distant future, manual labour jobs will be almost entirely automated, leaving humans frantically scrabbling for roles which demand a skill set so far untapped by technology. Employees will need to be able to think critically and solve complex problems to prove their worth in the workplace. However, today's reliance on technology has resulted in a generation of young people who are unable to do so without the crutch of technology. We live in a world where the word Google has become a verb. Got a problem? Google it. But that convenience comes with a cost. In a world of instantaneous information, we're rarely faced with a problem our search engine of choice can't solve. Our brains are at risk of atrophy through lack of use, whilst computers are growing more intelligent by the day. Unable to adapt and think critically to solve problems, many young people have become too reliant on technology to do their work. Furthermore, it is clear that collaborative working will be key to the future job market. But again, this is something young people are going to find worryingly problematic. Many of today's teens lack basic communication skills. They're hooked on the opiate of the masses, smartphones. Walk through the streets of a busy city today or make use of public transport and you'll see the same thing, if you look up from your own phone, that is. As a society, we're not communicating. Social interactions are at an all-time low. Young people simply will not be able to collaborate with colleagues and clients when they fail to develop their interpersonal skills. Of course, the archaic mode of education isn't helping. Schools haven't evolved since Victorian times, and like a boat held fast by an unrelenting anchor, seem unable to navigate the stormy waters of the modern world. The education system clings stubbornly to the myth that memorizing facts for exams is the key to success. This rigid approach fails to cultivate the creative minds required for the future. Students deserve an education that is responsive to the world around it, but changes in education policy take time, and we need to act now. So how do we start solving these problems today? It is essential that we expose ourselves to real-world experiences and learn to rely on our own ingenuity. We must get offline and begin to depend on ourselves. When we run into a problem or a challenge, resist the urge to ask Google and work on finding the solution ourselves. Ironically, by weaning ourselves off our reliance on technology, we will ultimately make ourselves more attractive to the technology companies shaping the future. Less broadband, more brain power, and young people will be able to develop the skills and knowledge needed to succeed in the workplace of tomorrow. It needs to start now. So did you spot some extended metaphor references? They were that the modern workplace is a stormy sea, that the job market is an ocean of opportunities, that navigating these choppy waters was another one, and like a boat held fast by an unrelenting anchor. So the key thing is we don't want 20 references, it would be over the top, but you can pick that metaphor and have, 4, maybe 5 references throughout the piece. And here's why I like this extended metaphor. It helps tie the whole piece together structurally. Each time we return to that imagery, the stormy sea, the ocean, the choppy waters, the boat with its anchor, it reminds the reader of the central argument whilst making the writing feel cohesive and deliberate. It's like a motif that keeps reappearing, giving this article a sense of unity and showing that every part is connected to the same overarching idea. But here's something crucial. Your extended metaphor has to be relevant to your topic, otherwise it simply won't work. The metaphor needs to genuinely reflect the idea you're discussing. For example, if I'd chosen to describe the modern workplace as a beautiful garden and then talked about planting seeds of opportunity and watching careers blossom, it wouldn't work at all because a garden suggests something peaceful, nurturing and predictable, and that's the complete opposite of what I'm actually arguing. My whole point is the workplace is chaotic and unpredictable and difficult to get through, so the stormy sea metaphor captures that perfectly. The garden metaphor would confuse the reader and undermine my argument. So when you're choosing your extended metaphor, always ask yourself, does this actually fit in with what I'm trying to say? Does it enhance my argument or does it contradict it? If your metaphor doesn't actually line up with your message, it'll feel forced and awkward and you'll not do the best work you can do. So the best extended metaphors feel natural and inevitable, like they were always meant to be there. Okay, so I'm going to put an exam style question here on the screen, have a think about it, then put a comment in the comment section about the extended metaphor you choose with that question and write a few examples you would put in with it. If you found this video useful, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.